Hello, my lovelies. I'm Ginny O, the author with no last name, and today I want to talk about modern wolf science, werewolves, and family. So, last week I talked about werewolves and how it has influenced today's version of toxic masculinity, where I jumped off of a Bow of the Fifth Column video. If you want to go back and listen about pop culture werewolves and Mech's debunked study, link in the description below. Today's video, though, is to talk about modern wolf science, werewolves, and family. And as someone who writes werewolves, I've done a lot of research on wolves to write my books. So, what is modern wolf science? AKA, what do we know now about wolves and their social structure in the wild? What did Mech learn after he realized, oops, I was studying stranger wolves in captivity under a lot of stress? So, modern wolf science, based on wolves who live out in the wild, tells us that wolf packs are families with siblings that squabble, usually over who gets to babysit the puppies or who gets to lead the hunt. Yes, male wolves will fight to babysit their siblings. Wolf packs will adopt pups of other packs under different and varying circumstances, too. Wolf parents will have their older children lead the hunts so the older children can learn how to work together and create effective strategies for taking down large herbivores like deer, elk, and moose. If they live on the sea, they will teach their children to fish. Hunting together, fishing are important life skills parents should be teaching their pups. It's very responsible of them. They're also teaching them how to work together in a group to complete a task. Cooperation, very important. The wolves will follow certain paths in their territory in order to find their food and will create different strategies to hunt based on who is in the hunting party and the terrain and what they're hunting. They're intelligent. The first one to eat at the end of the hunt is the one who is the hungriest. That seems reasonable. And they're highly respectful of territory boundaries to other packs, while meeting up with them on the edges to howl and play. And wolves in different parts of, say, the United States actually howl a bit differently. So different widespread packs have different accents. Wolves love to play, and they play rough because they have thick fur and tough skin. They can take it. And they learn to hunt by playing with each other, basically. Large packs are generally upwards of 3 generations of wolves, with the third generation being 2 or even 3 years of puppies, since adult wolves will leave the pack no matter their gender around 2.5 years of age, unless mommy or daddy wolf needs them to stick around a bit longer. And as the original family wolves get older, a child will stay and bring in a mate to help with the hunting. So big packs will have grandparents, parents, older siblings, and the babies. Maybe an aunt if mom needs a lot of help with baby rearing. And unlike domesticated dogs or even horses, wolves don't form these transitory type packs of strangers or single gender groups. A single wolf may move upwards of 400 miles to find a mate, but they do not remain alone any longer than that. And Mama and Papa Wolf probably won't be happy about the new wolf coming and trying to lure one of their children away to create a new family. That's taking away from their ability to hunt and having enough wolves to watch after the puppies in the spring. When wolves do squabble, there isn't one wolf they're always picking on, just like there isn't one wolf who will try to defuse the fight. Everyone in the family will get annoyed at each other at times, and it's just as likely Dad will step in to defuse things as Mom, or an older sibling. Families may love each other. They don't always have to like each other. To summarize, wolf groups are big, sometimes multi-generational families who work together to provide food and take care of the babies, and they socialize with other wolf families nearby, but stay out of their territories otherwise. Sounds pretty neat, right? But what does this have to do with werewolves? Pop culture-wise, very little. To get to more wolf-like werewolves, we have to dig and find the legends and myths before the werewolf trials with the church exerting control. And there's not a lot to go off of, especially if you're not using Aesop, Grimm, or the Reynard tales that feature wolves. Medieval peasantry did not have a very good view of wolves in general when it came to those types of really rather raunchy morality tales. Werewolves don't have a singular type of origin story like vampires do for writers to have to follow that pattern. Good for writers, not always great if you want to get published. Publishing really likes specific boxes for creatures, which is why the pop culture werewolf is where it is right now. And if you want to do something outside the current pop culture version of werewolves, like I do, and I've seen others asking for, be prepared for pushback or to be indie publishing. Look, a lot of older myths and legends are like, hey, you did this thing, and now you turn into a wolf for 7 years, and as long as you don't kill anyone, you'll turn back into a human. And if you think about this in terms of medieval life, those 7 years of being an animal might have been slightly humiliating because acting like an animal because they don't have souls and reason is bad, but also it'd be a vacation. 7 years of running in the forest and hunting animals and all I've got to do is avoid humans sounds good to me. 7 years of farming drudgery, being subjugated by the church, or 7 years of running in the forest eating venison and berries. I'd take the forest for 100, Alex, and I get my own fur blanket. Yes! And the rest were of these myths were, if you see a werewolf out and about, they're either a knight errant working off a curse from someone, anyone, or they're running around having an out-of-body experience, or are like a selkie and instead of having a seal pelt, they have a wolf pelt, or they're just going about their business as fishermen. So as long as they aren't blaspheming God, leave them alone. And there was another favorite. I didn't know my spouse was a werewolf until I cut off the paw of a wolf hanging around eating the livestock. Oops! So, if we take werewolves who are lycanthropes, aka men who turn into wolves, or wolves who turn into men, and toss modern wolf science onto them, you get a family who wants to have a lot of kids in it. Is okay with living with grandma and grandpa, lots of hugs and such to go around, plenty of playtime, and always lets the most hungry eat first. Events probably tend to revolve around food. Also, they want to meet up with the neighbors to sing and dance a lot, with a side, you will bring my daughter home by 10 p.m. or else, thrown in there for good measure, without any mention of which parent is saying it. Both. Generally, both. Territorial, but as long as neighboring territories are marked, we'll respect boundaries. Marked as if with signs or fences. We don't have to go that far. Family roles are a lot more approachable than hierarchy prison roles, in my opinion, which is why I prefer to write them, even if it's not popular or going to get me a publishing contract or on the New York Times bestseller list. Now, look, I don't write high literature. I readily admit this. I write Anne Bishop family dynamics with Jim Butcher action stuff, or the Sons of Anarchy drama meets the Expendables explosions, and I choose to do this deliberately. There's a reason a good chapter or two of the first book is two of my three main characters in the story running around doing errands and helping families in the overall biker club slash huge family pack by bringing groceries or toys or helping them repair a roof. Because helping out your neighbors doesn't have to be about real family, gender, or being a real man. It's about being a good being, even if you can run around in your own furry coat on 4 feet whenever the mood strikes you. Who is the real monster? The wolf, who is hunting together with other wolves to provide for the family, or the person telling you to hate because of skin color, or sexuality, or gender? Gender, or being a man, or being a woman, has nothing to do with hugging your friends and family, or who is parenting, or who walks the kids to school. or who cooks. Family doesn't have to be parents and the kids in one household. It can be grandparents or aunts and uncles living with them too. And yes, in the wild, two male wolves or two female wolves will adopt puppies too. So let's not go there. Mom and dad can have equal roles in the family doing the same things to provide for said family. Big brother can babysit his siblings just as much as big sister can. Gender has very little to do with it. Boys can nurture just as much as girls can fix stuff and do math, and it makes them stronger people. And let me say, for me, showing this in my writing isn't easy because I have to work through a lot of imposed societal constructs I view as normal, including things like gender bias, emotional labor, social networks, and the hypersexuality of touch in our culture, and I'm still working through it as I learn more and grow as a person. And when you're writing a series and you're suddenly confronted with something in your world building you suddenly have to make sense, sometimes you end up doing some hard thinking about your belief systems and the meaning of family and being a real or good person. So maybe being a real person is about nurturing and supporting your family, blood or not, and your neighbors, and not worrying about what gender the person is or the color of their skin and so on, of who does the needed task or how it gets done as long as the task is completed. It's about taking turns and compromising and wanting people to be happy as long as they aren't hurting others, even if you don't understand it. You know, the don't do evil things in the name of God. Don't frustrate your children to anger. Let people choose their own skills in life. There's something to be said about how back before the werewolf trials, the legal mindset about people turning into wolves was, you might not understand it, but hey, as long as they aren't doing evil in the name of God or doing evil, then leave them be. They aren't hurting anyone. In fact, they might be trying to help. Those people next door might have a different color skin and have an accent. They think you look just as strange and talk just as funny, and yet you're both families. You've got a lot more in common than different. Anyways, Bo would say, it's just a thought. If any of you are interested in my more family-style werewolves, where I try to address this in stories in contrast with hierarchy prison werewolves at some point, my first book, The Lone Prospect, a cozy werewolf biker drama, is available for free on my website or on Royal Road. No risk to you. Hit the back button if you don't care for it. Thanks for listening. Hug your friends and family. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Bless. And I'll see you in the next video.